Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga, and today we are back with a special Hunter x Hunter video-packed thing with all sorts of dark continent-y goodness. Because we are here to explore the bizarrely credible theory that Kurapika's peeps, also known as the Kurta clan, may have originated from the Dark Continent. And as with all theories, I want to recognize that yes, that does sound a little bit ridiculous at first, but stick with me here because there is a fair bit of substance to this one. And it also aims to solve some of the lingering mysteries of the Kurta clan itself, a shockingly underdeveloped aspect of Hunter x Hunter. And it's all going to begin with a quick round of Scarlet Eyes or Delicious Fries, a very simple minigame, the rules of which are as follows. Kurapika is on a quest to find the eyes of his clan members, and he has tracked down this mystery box. It is now going to be your job to guess what Kurapika finds inside. Will it be Scarlet Eyes, or will it be a box of delicious fries? Should you guess incorrectly, then your punishment will be to subscribe to the New World Review, thus resulting in consistent injections of Hunter-related culture administered directly into your YouTube feed. And if you are correct, then you will get to eat whatever was in the box. Nom nom. So what will it be? Scarlet Eyes or Delicious Fries? Make your choice now and we shall reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1, and bam! It was Scarlet Eyes because Kurapika has no time for fries. But if you guessed incorrectly, then you know the thing to do, and please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the New World Association. Welcome. Now the Scarlet Eyes are important because they form the crux of the Kurta Dark Continent theory, primarily because their power cannot actually be explained by any established system of Hunter x Hunter, by which I guess I mean Nen. Everything is Nen. However, the Kurta Eyes are an aberration, even in a series full of unique powers. And whenever a power lands outside of Nen explanation in the series, the answer to that problem is almost certainly the Dark Continent. Now, as a quick recap, the Kurta clan, as we know them, hailed from the Luxo province in, well, we don't actually know, because it was never revealed exactly where it is on the world map, or even vaguely where it is, but it is somewhere, assumedly. What we do know is that this was a natural, secluded, and isolated area of the world. The Kurta clan are the only known inhabitants of this area, and their tribe once consisted of 128 members, including Kurapika, and it now consists of exactly one member, including Kurapika. And what's important to note right here is that not every clan member possessed the signature Kurta Scarlet Eyes. In fact, only 37 of the 128 members were said to have the eyes. So that immediately points to a natural biological phenomena as opposed to any kind of latent Nen-based power. It doesn't rule Nen out entirely, which we will get to, but it does make it far less likely. One of the most curious things about the Scarlet Eyes, though, is that we have no real idea what, if anything, they do. Those in the Kurta clan who were able to access them had the ability to turn them on and off, and well, that's kind of it. Sort of like a glorified light switch. No greater expansion was ever given, and we only have the case of Kurapika to examine. In his instance, donning the Scarlet Eyes changes his Nen affinity from Conjurer to Specialist, which is an ability that no other character in the series has ever possessed. Some individuals do evolve naturally into Specialists over time, but they can't cut back and forth like Kurapika. But the problem is, with only one case available, it is impossible to say for certain that this would have been the same effect for the entire clan. If anything, it's entirely possible that Kurapika could have subconsciously created this affinity shift as an ability itself by linking it to the condition of the Scarlet Eyes, sort of like how Bisky subconsciously created her body transformation. It was just bred out of a deeply rooted desire, an effective response to a critical need, which also very much describes Kurapika. Because you can do almost literally anything with Nen, which is why the idea that Kurapika is an aura user has very much actually poisoned any hope we have of ever understanding the Kurta clan in their natural form. Whatever the case, Kurapika's accomplishments with the eyes actively break the established rules of power in Hunter x Hunter, and there is definitely precedent for that, but most of those instances can be traced back directly to the Dark Continent. For example, the biological phenomena of the 5 threats, each one of which would be capable of wiping out humanity if left unchecked. These beings all possess seemingly naturally developed characteristics unlinked to Nen use. Although the only argument I could make for one that does use Nen might be Ai, better known as Nanika, and better known than that as Aluka, and that's mostly because I have a lot of trouble believing that the godlike wish granting can exist without some kind of aura manipulation. I mean, if that is the case, then, well, Hunter x Hunter is certainly broken, but the Scarlet Eyes are much more akin to the other Dark Continent life forms. It seems extremely likely that some sort of ancient group of what would become the Kurta clan developed the Scarlet Eyes as a survival mechanism to live on the Dark Continent. And the reason why I pretty immediately jumped to that conclusion all has to do with a man by the name of Beyond Netero. This certified sneaky man said something quite fascinating in his first appearance in the series during chapter 340. In a live broadcast announcing not only the existence of the Dark Continent to the world, which firstly, wow, was meant to be a bit of a secret, but he also went on to claim that the ancient ancestors of humans originated from the Dark Continent. Now there's only so much stock you can put into this because it's Beyond and he's far from a reliable source of information at this point, but with that said, our evidence would seem to support his claim. And it's not just the Kurta clan either. There are all sorts of small strangeties in Hunter x Hunter, another example of which is that Killua can morph his his hands into these bestial claws, and he was able to do this prior to becoming a Nen user, indicating a more biologically based ability. And even if we do ignore Beyond, we do have at least one solid precedent for humans living on the Dark Continent in the form of Dawn Freaks. So it's definitely possible for humanity to coexist with the other extraordinarily deadly organisms just under the right circumstances. And if we were to take Beyond's hypothesis to a natural conclusion, then these various human tribes and organizations living on the continent could have migrated to the center of Lake Mobius and settled there in its various locations, thus founding the human realm. Although there is a bit of a question as to how, because modern human society is barely capable of traveling through such deep and dangerous ocean, so it's hard to imagine a more ancient society having the means of doing so. However, to be fair, even modern day humanity needs the help of the gatekeeper and the guide to successfully land on the Dark Continent, so perhaps ancient humans had some assistance in that regard. Although the other option is that the Kurta clan arrived in the human realm in the same way that most Dark Continent creatures do, which is a curse that humans have been forced to bring back with them after an unsuccessful voyage. In that way, I could see a situation where the progenitor of the Kurta clan traveled to the Dark Continent and was afflicted with the Scarlet Eyes as punishment. Then this person returns, starts a family, and passes on this biological characteristic, and then eventually we have this whole mini clan of just red-eyed little people. A whole clan who are forced to live in isolation because greater human society will not accept them. And just as a slight tangent, that's something I've always found a bit odd about Hunter x Hunter. The Kurta clan were actively persecuted and feared for the crime of having red eyes, but at the same time, the world is perfectly fine living side by side with all of the weird and wacky magical beasts in Hunter x Hunter. And I mean, the secretary of the Hunter Association is literally like an anthropomorphic bean plant. So are you really telling me that some lovely red eyes concern you, but a living vegetable does not? Yeah, you think about that. Unless, of course, those who persecuted the Kurta clan knew something that we do not. Maybe it's not an entirely baseless fear, because if they are in fact a race from the Dark Continent or afflicted by a Dark Continent curse, then the history of Hunter x Hunter tells us that this is something to be very, very wary of. The Chimera ants, for example, came close to completely conquering humanity within a mere couple of months of just existing. So there could very much be a known history on whatever continent the Luxor province is housed, where a Kurta clan member, be it accidentally or intentionally, caused some kind of horrific incident, stories were passed down, and thus people at large are still afraid of the Scarlet Eyes to this very day. And in an interesting left turn, that takes us to the Phantom Troop, a complex group of characters who are simultaneously selfish and somehow charitable. Twisted as it may be, they do have their own moral compass, one which abhors one type of genocide and one which actively accepts another type of genocide. Like I said, they're complex. But on the good end of that spectrum, this group is very loyal to one another as well as their home of Meteor City. So if there was a widespread fear of the Kurta clan, who have been literally referred to as devils, then the Phantom Troop may have seen them as a fair target. One that would not only make them a lot of money, but also solve a problem of the world. Or even better than that, seeing the clan as an opportunity to enact simple vengeance. Because another thing I've always found odd about Hunter x Hunter is the note left behind by the Phantom Troop after the Kurta massacre. Because just why? I mean, firstly, it makes very little sense because if you think you've killed the entire clan, who's gonna read the message anyway? And if someone from the outside does stumble upon it, what exactly are they supposed to gauge from that message? Because it almost very patriotically states the motto of Meteor City being, we'll accept anything you leave here, but don't ever take anything away from us. And it just doesn't quite fit, because why is that message relevant in the case of the Kurta clan? And with that message in mind, it almost seems like a sort of retaliatory attack on the clan. As if at some stage in the past, a Kurta clan member did take something or someone from Meteor City, and this brutal massacre was a form of vengeance being carried out. In addition to an economic opportunity, of course. My man Krollo does need his fancy expensive clothes after all. But now we should also go through a non-Dark Continent possibility, because there is a chance that the eyes are indeed Nen based. I mean, the modern Kurta clan members themselves have no concept of it, but inherited Nen is not foreign to Hunter x Hunter, and the Kakian Empire pretty blatantly display that. The aura of the first king of the Kakian Empire does still exist, and it interacts with his descendants through the succession wars. So it is theoretically possible to think that an ancient member of the Kurta clan could have developed the Scarlet Eyes as a unique Nen ability, and then passed them on through a post-mortem Nen legacy. And look, we also do need to examine the biggest sort of gaping flaw with the whole Kurta clan Dark Continent theory, which is Yoshihiro Togashi himself. In fact, the main problem with Hunter x Hunter theories in general is that we always need to apply this logical declension via study of the meta aspects of the series, because with all of that in mind, the truth is likely that Togashi created the story of the Kurta clan long before he actually develops the concept of Nen. Togashi is well known as an improvised author, and in my opinion, Nen was not a planned power system at the beginning of Hunter x Hunter, which is why we now have inconsistencies like the Scarlet Eyes and Killua's claws that just don't fit nicely into the Nen system. Along with the existences like the early magical beasts, it's pretty clear that Togashi intended Hunter Hunter x Hunter to be more of a fantasy-style world before making the abrupt switch to a more realist one. So there is absolutely no hope of the thought that, oh, Togashi intended the Kurta clan to be from the Dark Continent all along, because I guarantee that Togashi had no thoughts of the Dark Continent at the time either. However, it does work as a good retroactive explanation, like how the Dark Continent was retroactively used to explain the existence of the Chimera Ants. Because considering that the Chimera Ant arc took Togashi 7 years to draw, I'm gonna go out on a pretty safe limb here and say that he had no plans for the Dark Continent when he first created the ants either. It's just not a very Togashi-like thing to do to plan that far in advance. But with that said, the Dark Continent is a stroke of narrative brilliance in my opinion. The idea that this place exists solves almost every weird world-building inconsistency that Togashi accidentally crafted. So no matter what explanation occurs, I think it's a safe bet to attribute the Scarlet Eyes to the Dark Continent. Whether they're a curse or a Kurta clan member descended from an ancient race of humans who migrated, it just makes sense. And in a way, it also ties into very nicely with what's happening in current events. With Kurapika on his way to the Dark Continent with the mission of claiming the last of the Scarlet Eyes during the journey, this is almost becoming an unintentional pilgrimage. Kurapika setting sail to the direct source of his life's journey, the source of his clan's historical persecution. And if we ever did, actually get to the Dark Continent, then I would very much look forward to seeing what Kurapika discovers there. In the meantime, how about you discover a video? This one, for example. There's always more to learn, explore, and enjoy about Hunter x Hunter, so I look forward to seeing you there.